Welcome back to the second hour of the show with No Name. I'm Bob Going with Jim Nikosha, Gavin Murdoch, and city historian Robert Van Hassel, who's coming to class up the show again, as he always does. Got something coming up shortly, huh?
Yeah, that's the script. The secret, double secret script for the Haunted History Tour, Ghosts of the Past.
This is like the great. I've read the script. Did you write the script?
I wrote it with Alessa Wiley.
This is wonderful. I've read. I actually have a copy of this, although I haven't printed it up. Wonderful script. You can't miss this Haunted History Tour, which is the next weekend, right? Friday and Saturday.
19th and 20th.
It's not tonight, right?
No,
because I'm going to be out of town. All right. 19th and 20th. We're not giving away too much here. The premise is you enter the Green Hill Cemetery and you're taken on a tour by Joseph Cornell, who used to own the place.
Right.
Right. It used to be part of his farm, and
You brought him back?
His grave is the closest one to the staircase,
yes,
right?
And his sons.
And then it takes you around a little loop, and different people are going to pop out from behind their white crosses and haunt you, but tell their own stories. It's great. It's historically great, and it's beautifully written.
I'm going to be probably Chief Klein, the first police chief of Amsterdam, so I've arranged for the uniform, and I've got to tape my arm down because he was one-armed.
Which one?
Actually, he was left-handed after he lost his right arm at a battle in Virginia in 1864 during the Civil War. So
he misplaced it.
Yeah, well, the rebels helped him. And
he didn't take it home like Dan Sickles did with his leg, right?
No, or Santa Anna's leg, which the Ohio National Guard had up until recently. Yeah, they did. They actually just formally returned it to Mexico finally after about 120 years. Wait, have you got your uniform with you? Is that the... No. This actually, I don't know if you want to do this on camera. We were hoping that at first we thought you'd make a perfect Joseph Cornell, and we had you lined up as our third Joseph Cornell because of the way you work around.
Right.
But then I thought maybe we don't need 3 Cornells. That might be overkill because of the way the tour works. And I wanted to know if you might be interested in doing Captain E.S. Young.
Captain E.S. Young, who the GAR was named after him, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even have to look for a uniform. You got one for me? Is that what you're saying? Look at this! Look at this!
Well, we wanted to see if it fit. This is my. That's a very authentic reproduction.
Yeah, I can tell it's tailored a little better than it probably would have been in the.
And actually, it's they haven't even. I didn't even get a chance to completely full that. That's the old process by which they sealed the seams. But that was mine a few years ago.
Well,
it's tall then.
It's a little on the tight side.
Tight.
But you know, I could wear it like this.
You could wear it like that with a vest
and
it's
a very
shirt.
Tight.
Don't flex.
And I have to do it without a shirt, I think. Anyway, okay, I guess I can.
And I've got the pants. I've got the
pants will never fit. If this is the way the jacket fits. So
actually, the pants were made like one size fits all, and there's a drawstring in the back.
Oh, okay, all right.
Or you could probably get away with jeans too, but. I've got the red sash.
I'll probably get terrible reviews if I wear jeans.
My sword.
Right, okay, that's enough, or I won't be able to finish this program. So now this thing is next week, and
how many spots you have in?
This is at least the third different part people have suggested. No, fourth, I think. Let's see.
They haven't made up their mind where they want you.
Now, let me ask you: when Colleen, my cousin Colleen Medwood, is the one who kind of hornswoggled me into this, right? And when she first discussed it, she said, you know, I think you'd make a good Benjamin Blood. I'm thinking, what a nice compliment. You know, then I read the script, and he's the drug addicted, goofy one.
But you're an actor.
Thanks, Colleen.
You're a great actor, though. You could
I could handle it. I'm not saying I couldn't handle it. It's a very funny part, actually. But I'm wondering just what she meant by that, I guess is what I'm saying. Why, he'd be perfectly cast as Benjamin Blood.
We got somebody who's a little spacier to do Benjamin
I can do
Blood.
Spacey, though, really. I've done Spacey before.
Years ago, I worked on a hotline, and they used to advise us that the best way to deal with somebody who was stoned when you were talking to them on the hotline was to act like you were stoned too. So I had people call.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I get it.
Like Cheech and Chong.
They'd call up and they'd say things like, "Oh wow, like I can't hear the stereo, and my parents are gonna come home and it'll be busted and they're gonna kill me." And I'd be like, "Wow, is the on/off switch on/off?" and they'd be, "Oh wow, man, that's heavy. Yeah, oh, thanks so much." My favorite was, I had a guy once who was on LSD, and he calls me up and he says, "Oh, I'm watching Gunsmoke reruns, man, and like the horses, they came out of the TV and they're all over the living room and they're crapping everywhere. Like, what do I gotta do? What do I gotta do?" And it's like, cool down, man. Go back to the refrigerator, get your sugar cubes, put them on top of the TV. And when the horses smell the sugar, they'll go back to the TV. He drops the phone. And I'm like, do I have to call an ambulance here or what? And about 3 minutes later, he's like, "Oh, it worked. Thanks a lot."
Oh, that's great.
But he had the presence to call the hotline. It was kind of amazing.
Right on speed dial.
Oh man, we used to get weird calls all the time.
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was always amazing. But so you were saying, we were thinking of Benjamin Blood, yeah, and that was an idea. And then we were thinking of Cornell, but like Cornell is a big part, and we got 2 guys. I don't know if we need a third. And I was thinking because the military work, the writing you've been doing. Cornell, not Cornell.
Yes, Young.
E.S. Young would be good. The other role is we were going to switch somebody into Howgate, not Howgate. Harmonious DeGraff. He's only got 2 lines, but it's like the entire punchline.
Right.
Don't give it away.
Right.
So how many different stations are you going to have in the cemetery?
Like 10, right?
Yeah. We're going to mention a lot of people that won't be there, but Benedict Arnold will make an appearance. Widow Susan makes a big appearance.
Mary Duncan.
Mary Duncan is there. James Howgate, the mill owner.
Oh, the other part that was mentioned for me was James Stewart, because somebody says, "Well, can I do a Jimmy Stewart?"
The problem with that one is that Cornell and Benedict Arnold and Stuart Graves are like right next to each other, so we ended up cutting Jimmy Stewart out.
Oh.
Because it would just like front load the tour too much. Yeah. So he just gets a mention in passing.
Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad, because he's a good character, because he used to own Guy Park Manor and built the tavern. He ran the tavern there before there was a Russo's. So I had all kinds of riffs going there that were outside the script when that was a possibility. So, all right. So
we'll save them, because next year when we do it, we'll probably come up with a whole different list of characters.
Yeah.
So what do you think of E.S. Young?
Oh, I don't know. I hadn't thought about E.S. Young. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. We got our dress rehearsal coming up, or a rehearsal?
17th. Wednesday the 17th.
What time?
5. Okay. 5 is the call, so that people can get into their costumes, and then we run it through at 6. The time of that'll be the first tour on the 19th and 20th.
It's gonna be dark at 6.
Yeah. I actually did this. I did the tour in a sort of rehearsal with the Girl Scouts, and I was telling somebody, "Oh, I was up in the cemetery having a wonderful time with the Girl Scouts the other day," and they were like, "What?" And
oh man,
man in your position.
Heavy.
I had 40 Girl Scouts and like 10 parents, and we were walking through the cemetery talking over the different. We didn't have any of the actors, and it is incredibly dark up there.
Well, yeah. What are you going to do for lighting? You're going to have. I hope the staircase is lit a little bit.
Yes, actually, the HAL volunteers have been working very hard. They're building luminaries to line the staircase.
Good.
And then once you get up there, each of the different stops has got a lantern going to be there. And St. Mary's Hospital is donating flashlights. So every tour goer gets a flashlight. And we'll have guides out in front and behind each group that moves through. We've held them to 20 so that nobody gets lost. And They'll have lanterns, and then we're purchasing chem sticks to line the walk, because I realized when I was up there with the Girl Scouts that even if you know where you're going, it's so dark up there that you can kind of see where you want to go next, but you can't see the roadway. So you end up doing a beeline for your next target, and before you know it, you're stumbling over gravestones. So we got to mark the path as well as the stops.
We had a party here one year, and we used the front door, which we never do. So we lit the path up with it's like donut sacks, you know, that kind of, and weighted down with sand, with a Vigilite in it, not one of those penny, but you know, one that'll last a couple hours. And,
big time sense.
And boy, did that do the job, lighting the pathway. And you know, occasionally a bag will catch fire, but it'll go out pretty quick.
What the volunteers are doing?
I think your dog is acting kind of strange over there.
He's just hanging out, isn't he?
No, yeah.
Oh, he's just rolling in the grass. That's what he does. I hope. Hope he hasn't been drinking that water. Anyway, there he is. Hey, Chippy, you okay? Chippy dog. All right. Yeah, the Chip the Wonder Dog is fine.
Right, okay.
Okay.
I'm just a little concerned.
Well, I know. He's lying there with his legs straight up in the air. That's usually not a good sign.
You put him on the tour.
He's just acting.
Add him as the stop number 11.
You know, a couple of days ago, right above where we are today, you know, some of the leaves are off. Actually, some of these locusts are dead, and had 26 turkey buzzards just sitting there. And you can see from our landing, we have a big window on the landing there, and I was standing there, and it's like Hitchcock. And they're all just staring at me. They were waiting for the frogs in the pool, I think is what it was. But they usually don't get them this time of year. Get them in the spring, usually, and they'll come flying at that window, that landing window, and then swoop up over the house. And they got a 6-foot wingspan. Yeah. I mean, they're just monster birds, and ugly as can be. They're.
Yeah, the crows have returned to City Hall.
Those crows are starlings.
The crows.
Are they?
Yeah. We have.
So you got purple crap all over the place?
There are times when people will ask me, you know, we're in City Hall, and I say, is it raining? And I'm like, not exactly.
Well, they come up there at twilight at City Hall.
Yeah, I'm sure it goes during the day, early in the day.
And then they come down to my office on Market Street quite a bit.
What does the cost of this tour?
Oh, it's $10 for adults and $5 for children under 10. And everyone should know that if you're coming, you're going to have to walk up 100+ steps, and you'll be walking over uneven ground. So if you have trouble getting around, this might not be the tour to go on.
And the proceeds?
All go to Green Hill Cemetery maintenance and the Historic Amsterdam League activities.
All right. Well, it looks terrific. This is the good Benedict Arnold, right?
Yeah. This is the good Benedict. I got him a red regimental coat, though. I guess that won't be thrown away too much. He's not too happy about it. The character isn't too happy about it.
Oh, the character, yeah.
Basically, I'll give this one thing. When you first see Benedict Arnold, he walks up, he's wearing a British regimental coat, and he looks at the crowd and he goes, you know, the only reason I'm dressed like this is because you people can't get it through your heads. I'm not that Benedict Arnold. He takes off the coat and throws it down and he says, no, listen, I was born here. And goes on.
Well, he was actually, what, a general in the War of 1812? Something like that.
No, he was a subaltern, which is like a second or third lieutenant, but he stayed with the militia after the war and rose up to be a Major General in the New York State Militia.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, yeah. So he was in the War of 1812, but the high rank came later, and had probably had more to do with his money than his military skills.
Yeah,
right?
In those days, basically, everyone from 18 to 45 had to be in the militia if you were male, unless you were exempted, and that was a lot of troops in New York State. So you'd have like, he'd be, Major General. He was probably commanding the, whatever the division was for, in the militia for the Mohawk Valley, which only got together like once or twice a year. And basically had a party.
Yeah, roused out the tavern.
And probably never went into battle, right?
No, even during the War of 1812, it's very interesting. It's hard as a historian to, people ask me, who went from the Mohawk Valley? And, it's not like the Civil War where like guys join a definite regiment and off they go. The militia here would have drafts. The word would come down from the state, we need 100 guys from these units in the Mohawk Valley, and they'd go around and they'd say, first, who wants to volunteer? And if there were no volunteers, they'd say, okay, you, and you're going. And they'd go up, they'd serve on the frontier for 6 months, come back, and another one would go up. So it gets really hard, unless you're looking at a personal record, to tell who was where when. And they generally describe them in the battle orders of battle and descriptions as simply 700 New York militia. That's it.
We have not talked since you posted that picture of taken on the side of the armory.
Yeah.
I am sure, looking at the picture now, that you're correct, that is actually the group picture that was taken just before the parade.
It makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It's the right cast of characters, the right weight of uniform, and I can't think of any other occasion where they would have gotten together for that picture. They're dressed exactly as they were that day.
I don't think I had a chance to get back to you. I mentioned, the more I look at it, it also appears to me there's a couple of officers missing.
Yes, there are.
It's a smaller number of people than, of course, they were under strength to begin with, but even smaller number than their under strength number.
Right.
And as a former soldier, that to me is evocative of, or indicative of, this is the main move. The advance party has already gone forward wherever they're going. Under a couple of the other officers.
I initially discounted your theory because it was there were only 61 people in the picture as opposed to the 83 that supposedly went on October 23, 1940. But I'm relying on a newspaper account saying who was going from the company, and that was just a list. Your theory about them going in advance, and I'm specifically noticing people who are missing from the picture, including a couple of sergeants and stuff like that. So yeah, it does make sense that some of them would have been ahead and taking care of the arrangements. Huh?
I had another reason for coming over here today, but when I was grabbing the uniform and thinking, I left the other reason in the office, and that is the other day I had some of the Pep family in the City Hall, and they were, the elder had put together this tremendous package on Chaplain Sidoti.
Oh, beautiful! Because I'm writing about him right now.
And so they wanted to know, what can we do to make sure this story's out there? And I told them,
well, he's getting a whole chapter in my book. I've got his World War II original records and correspondence because his first cousin, once removed, lives down the street and we spent a whole afternoon going through his stuff, and I brought a bunch of it home to work from.
Well, I talked to him about different things we could do in the city and so on, but it's beautifully put together. It's that thick, and I said, one of the things you got to do is you got to get a copy of this to Bob Going. And I said, if nothing else, I'll loan him mine to make sure, because I got one for the archives. So I'll get that to you as soon as, that's one of the reasons I was coming by.
Make it as soon as possible, because I'm right in the middle of it.
Well, if you elect to take a role in the ghosts of the past.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just assuming I have the part because I've got the coat. Now, listen, do you mind if I alter this a little bit to loosen it up?
No, if you think you can.
If I think I can, yeah. No, if my seamstress thinks she can.
And who would that be?
Well,
somebody close to you?
Yeah, Mrs. knows.
Well, now look at the vest pocket.
The what?
In the interior pocket.
Oh, okay, yeah. Is there something in here? Hey. Look at this.
You've been promoted to captain of the field artillery.
Look at this.
You think she might be able to put those on the shoulders?
Oh, sure. I don't know. How do you sew them on? I guess.
She'll probably know. It's a kind of a tack loop goes underneath.
Just tack on each corner.
Now, I mentioned on one of the comments on your site about her great-grandfather, who was the Medal of Honor winner in the Civil War.
Oh, yeah.
Not buried in Green Hill, he's buried in St. Mary's. Where was I going with this?
Well, that was very interesting. Because
because of the sewing runs in the family, because he invented the thing that makes buttonholes. The addition to the sewing machine that automatically makes buttonholes.
Way.
Yeah.
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 And I was so grateful when you put on that post, because I had overlooked him, because in 1912, I think it was, the U.S. Army took like almost 1,000 Medal of Honors from the Civil War and threw them out.
Yeah.
As not being up to modern standards.
Right.
And so I typically, when I see a Civil War,
What did they took the medals themselves? They took away the medal from people they given them to.
they actually
Took away the
called
honors.
them-
A lot of them were. I mean, some of them they gave a whole regiment medals of honor just so they wouldn't go home.
Yeah.
Which was nonsense. But his was earned.
They've been rescinded.
Yes.
What you mean.
His was not awarded until like the 1880s.
Right.
So it was totally legitimate. But he also gets missed because he didn't live in Amsterdam when he joined up. He came later, and he came as a 20-year-old or something, and after his years of experience in the Army, and he was 16, I think, when he signed up.
Yeah.
Lied about his age, of course.
So that now makes 2 Medal of Honor winners that are in Amsterdam
At least.
that we know of.
Yeah. Tell us a story about the other one, because I don't even know that story.
Oh, Bruce Anderson?
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Thank
you can pass that.
Keep his legs warm.
All right.
It was a little chilly out here today.
Yeah, Bruce Anderson is the other Medal of Honor winner, and he's also from the Civil War. His award came much later. It was actually made in like 1914. And he's very fascinating for several reasons, one of which is he's African American. He originally was from Mexico, New York. We're not sure whether or not his parents were slaves, but they were farmers.
They're certainly of the right age.
Yeah, because most people don't know that slavery wasn't totally abolished in New York State till 1827.
Right.
So they could have been. But he moves down here and somehow manages to join the 142nd, I believe, New York Infantry. And it's an all-white unit. And in those days, New York would not allow blacks to join. They wouldn't even organize black units. This is why many of the, several of the companies that were in the famous 54th Massachusetts, the movie Glory,
right,
they were actually recruited out of the Mohawk Valley because New York wouldn't organize black troops. But Anderson, even though he's black, he joins this regiment and goes off to fight. And it's very interesting because it's also similar to, if you've seen the movie Glory, the attack in the movie at the end is on Fort Wagner,
right,
Fort Fisher, I believe.
No, I think it was Fort Wagner. I'm pretty
Fort
sure.
Wagner?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's very similar to the attack that Anderson makes himself later on. And he's in what's called the Forlorn Hope. They're the lead element that is not expected to survive. And their job is to cut through the obstacles and get up the side of the fort. And he's in the van of this, having volunteered for the duty, but gets no recognition until years later, a local judge here by the name of John Maxwell. You remember we were looking for the Maxwell home in
Sure.
John Maxwell.
I got Maxwell's in my family tree, and I know we're definitely not related to him, but I've tried many times.
Oh.
Maxwell is another fascinating character. He's a businessman in Amsterdam. He joins the U.S. Navy during the Civil War, and he's actually on a ship watching the battle that Bruce Anderson is in.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he's on a picket boat watching the battle. He actually writes letters home about it, but he has no idea that there's somebody else from Amsterdam in that battle that he's watching.
No, he's buried at Green Hill Cemetery.
Yeah, and both Anderson and Maxwell are. Now, when Maxwell comes back, he helps organize one of the first silk mills in Amsterdam. But later in life, he's like in his 40s, early 50s, he decides, I don't want to be a businessman, I want to be a lawyer. So he studies the law and he passes the bar and gets active in Veterans Affairs, ends up being the state commander of the Grand Army of the Republic, And one of the things he does is he writes pension requests, and the local GAR unit, E.S. Young, and what he does for them is the color guard, the guy who carries the flag in all the parades, is Bruce Anderson. So what Maxwell does in 1913, 1914, they're both older men now, he sits down, he writes the Secretary of the Army and says, this man should have gotten the Medal of Honor. And here's all the proof. He puts the whole file together. And Anderson is finally awarded the Medal of Honor. And it's very touching because Maxwell is going all out of his way, writing all this legal stuff. And then he has to write a letter saying that the medal's been received. And he says, well, Anderson can't write, so I'm writing this for him. Here's his mark on the bottom. And at the time, the funny thing is, Anderson is living at like 325 Guy Park Avenue. And you got to be like, why is he living there?
He's probably a servant.
Probably a servant or a gardener or something, but somebody was taking care of. This guy was well thought of in Amsterdam, and being color guard of the unit, and Judge Maxwell looking out for him. So it's interesting how their two lives weave together in this unique kind of Amsterdam story about the Civil War. The other fascinating thing about Anderson is, I think he is the only Medal of Honor winner we do not have any pictures of. And I'm not talking about Amsterdam, I'm talking about the United States Army does not have pictures of. And working with Kelly Farquhar at the county archives, we think we may have tracked down his great-grandson. And so we're going to try to see if there might have been some family pictures.
From Gloversville?
Yeah.
Cowboy Anderson.
You know him?
Yep.
Well, maybe you can help me put the touch on him.
A couple of years older than me, I believe.
Yeah?
He went to school with my brother.
I think that's the same guy. I got the file in the office.
Who knew? He's related to Beekman's.
Is that right?
No
yeah.
kidding.
Yeah. Cowboy's related to Beekman's.
Well, that brings up another interesting story. But, yeah, this is a lot like the thing I did with Henry Johnson, where, you know, everybody knew that Johnson had a son, but nobody knew where he was. Mm-hmm. And everybody thought Henry Johnson, the guy from the fighting the 369th, the Harlem Hellfighters from Albany, Henry Johnson Boulevard, they all thought he was buried underneath the airport in Pauper's Field. And I was the one who proved that no, he actually got, after he got sick, friends in New York had him buried in Arlington. And then, boy, that was trying to get Arlington to, because the records were all wrong and things didn't line up. Huh. But we were able to finally prove it. And then we had the ceremony with Governor Pataki, and we found Henry's son out in Kansas City, Missouri. And wouldn't you know, apples don't fall far from the tree. He hadn't seen his father. He thought his father was buried under the airfield. He's now in his 80s. But you know what he had done? He had become a local legislator out in Missouri. And during World War II, he was a Tuskegee Airman.
No kidding.
No kidding. He was a ground exec, but he was a Tuskegee Airman.
Just people don't know the background. He was passed over for the Medal of Honor in the First World War, right?
Yep. Papers got lost.
And what's that?
Papers got lost.
Yeah. Like my mother's scholarship application
right.
To Emmanuel. Right. Yeah. And clearly it wanted, but they didn't want it. The country was, the administration was so racist at that time that they couldn't even consider having a black man win the Medal of Honor. It just wasn't done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because, there were streetcars with signs in Albany in 1917 with, Henry Johnson did his part, will you do yours?
Yeah.
But then they lost his papers. I actually wrote the last nomination for the Medal of Honor for him, and the results came back. They awarded him the Distinguished Service Cross, which is like you would have gotten the Medal of Honor, but you didn't done it.
Yeah.
And there's still some people are still trying to get it, and I think it's well deserved. I mean, it was an amazing story, what they called the Battle of Henry Johnson. But it's very similar in that both of these are Bruce Anderson from Amsterdam and Henry Johnson from Albany. Both didn't get recognition in their own lifetimes, or only
or
at the very end.
When it would have meant something.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you consider in Anderson's case how many people got the Medal of Honor who didn't deserve it.
Yeah, 911 I think is what they eventually revoked.
Now, there was a black regiment in the Battle of the Crater that was fighting near the 115th that I came across in some old newspaper articles, and they, let's face it, they were being used as cannon fodder. They were okay. You guys go first, and we'll follow you. And,
yeah, well, during the Civil War, a lot of people objected to black troops being raised, and one of the ways, the arguments that overcame those objections was that a black man can stop a bullet as well as a white man can. And then people said, yeah. So that's when some states had been earlier in creating their black regiments, like Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and then the U.S. government started to create them in occupied territories. That's where you end up with the units originally have designations that don't sound like they should be in the Union Army, like the 1st South Carolina, the 1st Georgia. Those are regiments made up of black troops. And then they changed them. They called them the U.S. colored troops. So then redesignated them.
Well, even at the time of the Battle of the Crater, the Confederate troops were ordered to take no quarter with the black troops. The black troops would not be taken prisoner; they would just be killed.
Right.
Period. So they're charging in the Confederate territory, knowing that if anything goes wrong, they're dead.
And it wasn't an idle threat. I mean, there had been incidences like Fort Pillow in 1862, where the Confederate general just killed all the blacks. And also, any white officer found commanding a black unit
was hung or whatever.
Yeah. Some of them were early executed. So yeah, they're fascinating stories, and I'd like to do something about Anderson and Maxwell someday.
So Anderson was not originally from Amsterdam either.
He was born in Mexico, New York.
Was he? Did he enlist from Amsterdam?
We believe so. The actual record I've seen says Schenectady.
Well, that's close.
Probably walked into Schenectady. Or, took the train.
What year was that?
I think he signed up in 63 or 64.
That's 18. Yeah. Even before your time, Jim.
So that's going to be an interesting one. Oh, by the way, we got the word the Amsterdam Veterans Memorial is supposed to arrive on Tuesday.
Oh, the memorial itself.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All engraved and carved and ready to go up. And I was just talking to Alderman Leggero before I came over as to when we should have a dedication ceremony. We got to get with the commissioners to talk about that, but it should be in place on Tuesday.
Oh, so you'll be able to do the dedication. Of course, Veterans Day would be a nice time, except the Veterans Day takes place at the other end of the city.
I figure I'm going to advise them to go with like either October 27th or November 3rd or something. So there's so much going on Veterans Day, between the Elks around Veterans Day. The parade is on one day, the ceremony's on another day. You got the Elks dinner, you got something at Inman. That, you can almost call it Veterans Week. So I think the dedication probably should stay a little off of that because
make it for itself.
Yeah. It's pretty full.
You know what would be really nice? If you had a bagpiper for that ceremony.
Actually, we were hoping to get a bagpiper to lead the parade on Veterans Day.
I know one that you might be able to get a hold of.
Or you got a gig. You guys are late for Veterans Day.
And if it's going to be to honor the veterans, you should have at least like a world champion prize-winning bagpiper, right?
Yeah. I'd be happy to do the Veterans Memorial dedication.
I think it's a great idea, and we could have him do like he did at the 9/11 ceremony, do the troop, the monument.
Yeah. That's right. You have to dedicate the 9/11 one too, don't you?
Yeah. Once it goes up.
What's that?
They have to have the dedication for the 9/11 memorial in Amsterdam too.
Yeah.
People again do not appreciate all the things that we have here in Amsterdam. Do not appreciate all the work that people put in for these things.
Yeah.
We're a very critical community, and we're quick to point fingers, but we're not as quick to lend a hand.
It's amazing the number of things that are going on here or about to happen here. I'm going to be out of the office Monday and Tuesday. in exchange for being able to give a pitch to the captain and crew of they have these cruise boats that go down the Mohawk and the Hudson, and they come through. They're big. They're like 96 passengers.
Yeah. I always wanted to do that.
Well, I'm going to be doing it Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
And the deal is, I'm going to give them the historical talk on the valley, and they got to listen to my talk as to why they should start tying up at Riverlink from now on.
By the way, yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen you in a while. Since just before that packet boat that came to Riverlink Park. Why don't you tell us what happened there?
That was a great weekend, great day.
It was. It was fantastic.
Fantastic weather.
The boat itself, the Lois McClure historical reproduction canal boat, they clocked about 515 visitors.
Good.
So we know there were some people who just visited. Some people just came to hear the bagpiper.
And drummer.
Dan drummer. That was Misha and Reed Perry.
Some looked on for a distance, from a distance.
Yeah. So we estimate probably the crowd was about 600. Some of the school kids came around with their little passes. It was great. I had one father with his two little boys. They had already done all the stops, and the last was the Painted Indians, the Painted Rocks, and they were counting, and they were like, "Do we count the ones in the canoe or not? Dad, what do we do?" And Dad's like, I'm behind. The kids can't see me. You know, so he was like very fatherly. Yes, I think we'll count the ones in the canoe. And then I could check his math, because if you added up all the things that added up to 1885, and the bonus question was, what year is that? That's the year the city got chartered. So, yeah, it was like how many gun ports in Fort Johnson, and how many hours were the canal store open, and you had all 1885. That's a quick way that teachers could check.
Wait, did you make up some of that stuff?
No.
You know what hours the canal store was open?
It's easy, yeah. When a canal was in operation, in season.
There's a sign on the door over there.
Yeah, a very antique sign. You can just make it out. No, it's a simple answer. It's almost a trick question. When the canal had water in it during the canal season, before they drained it every year, canal stores were always open 24. Because there were so many boats going back and forth, you had to be open 24 hours. You never knew when somebody was going to be like, I need cordage, I need lamp oil.
They need a shot of country liquor, is what they.
Yeah, that's an idea. So that it's
they
24.
Didn't stop at Russo's?
Huh?
They didn't stop at Russo's on the way.
That was the later.
No, they stopped at the Stewart's on Guy Park.
That's right. They just floated right up.
Jimmy Stewart's bar and grill.
So. It was fantastic, and I mean, we had Misha and Reed Perry, and boy, did that ever! People love that. And then we also had another band off to on the
up on the deck of the cafe there.
Yeah, and then the artist who designed the Painted Rock sculpture was there. I even bought my own Painted Rocks T-shirt.
Wow!
And then the activities at the Square Crossing and Old Fort Johnson. It was a great day. We brought in a lot of people. I met a lot of people who weren't from Amsterdam, as well as.
I would have loved it. We were out of town that day. We had to go like one of our. It seems like bi-weekly trips to Boston. I'm going again today.
Well, there's going to be a lot more going on down there, because I think the waterfront is very important to our future. It's a key selling point.
And if we had time, we'd discuss your other waterfront project, but we got to cut it a little short today for technical reasons. And so I think this is going to be it, right? This is about the time?
About the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Always fascinating. City historian Robert Van Hasselen, among many of his other titles. Don't forget, come to the Haunted History Tour. 23rd. Where do they report to City Hall parking lot?
City Hall, yeah, because the medium and the psychic investigator, the paranormal investigator with the cameras and all that, who did City Hall, are going to be at City Hall to talk about it, and there'll also be refreshments. So while you're waiting to go on the tour, you can hear them and have some cider and donuts.
So cool.
You meet for the tour at City Hall.
Yep.
And then they'll lead you up to Green Hill Cemetery.
And hopefully, we'll get you back down again.
90% return rate would be a good
Acceptable.
thing. Acceptable. It'll be an A grade, 90%.
70% is combat effectiveness.
Yeah,
All right, and that'll be next Friday and Saturday night. So we'll probably plug it again next week. Maybe I'll be in uniform. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
That'll be good.
I think I get a Union cap I can
I
borrow
have
from
one for you.
Oh, do you?
I have the cap, the sash, the pants, which you can let out also, but I think you probably won't have to. And I'll loan you. I don't have a Civil War belt, but I have a Sam Brown belt and my 1902 Sabre.
Well, we're all set then. Wait a minle. Your what, sir?
Saber.
What's it?
Model 1902 Sabre. I don't have a Civil War Sabre. I just have a.
Oh, I might be able to get a Civil War saber.
Well, that's even better. See if you can get a belt to go with it, because
Yeah.
the attachments are different from Civil
I
War
got
to
a Civil
modern.
War saber.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, okay. Well, I'll check down at the museum. I know we got some Civil War era stuff down there. So, and I know we have fake caps, the ones when from the Centennial.
Well, I've got a good one. It's
from
as good quality as that.
Really?
All you need to
Excellent.
do is get a little U.S. to go on it or something. I've got like Chief Klein's uniforms, same thing. So
Cool. And you're going to do Klein, you say?
yeah, unless we got to put somebody else in it because I got to be somewhere else. But I'm probably going to do Klein.
So this is, you can see this is, we're deep into production of this. We haven't even cast the show yet, and it's on next week. Oh, what the heck? We can wing it. I know. I spoke to one of the Cornells the other day who was very excited about doing this. He really claims to have no stage experience, but he's been on the stage all his life, whether he knows it or not. So, another one that got hornswoggled by my cousin. Thank you, Colleen. You want me to be the druggie, right? Okay. All right. So anyway, Bob Van Hassel, Gavin Murdoch, Jim Nikosha, I'm Bob Going, and we'll be back next week with more of the show with no name.